So, welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And it is the call where we talk about where the Microsoft people shares you the latest and greatest on Microsoft products and services. And that means product managers, cloud advocates, and software engineers from Microsoft side who are presenting typically within these calls. Every now and then we do have a small exceptions on those, but that is typically the rule. Now, just a word of a warning, next week, this call will be actually 1 hour earlier for European-based people and 1 hour earlier for most of the APAC-based people, because again, we are moving to clocks, but US moves in a different time sequence and it's complicated. Now, if you have downloaded the recurrent invite for all of these community calls, those will be automatically updated based on your location and your time zone in Outlook. So that will be the time whenever the call is actually happening. Now, let's actually move in on to topic of today. So we're going to do a quick recap again on all of the different assets and links and everything else. And yes, we do know that we're repeating those in every single call, but that is actually important as well. There's always new people joining on this calls, so we want to make sure that they have the same baseline information as everybody else. And we always cover the latest news from Microsoft and the latest status on the events and all of that stuff. And we'll have a together mode picture, of course. So be ready to enable your camera today, so we can actually get a full 50 people in the room picture, hopefully, on today's together picture. Now, on the demo sections, I will first start on continuing the series of SharePoint Agents. So this time we're going to move into the getting started SharePoint Agents. We had an introduction last time when I was actually talking about SharePoint Agents. Now we're going to deep dive a bit more on, okay, how do we create them? What should we be considering when we are creating them? What about permissions? All of that stuff. We're going to walk through all of that things within that session. And then Paolo is going to follow me after that on consuming an MCP server in Copilot Studio. Really, really cool, up-to-date topic as well, and it is actually one of the latest and greatest tutorials in the Copilot Camp series. So we're going to walk through a lot of interesting stuff on that one as well. The first one, again, getting started with SharePoint Agents. That's pretty end-user maker specific things, because again, creating SharePoint Agents is super easy. If you're not aware of that, you'll see that within the demo, and then on MCP servers, Copilot Studio, a bit more deep dive on the makers and a bit more complicated advanced scenarios. But definitely really, really cool capabilities on the AI side. Now, we do have a lot of assets to get you started and staying up to date on the Microsoft 365 Power Platform. All of these community call recordings and videos and community calls are getting recorded, and we always publish the recording within the Microsoft Community Learning video channel at YouTube within 24 hours. And you'll see also all of the individual demos within that channel at AKMS Community YouTube. We do have our LinkedIn page and discussions and groups happening in LinkedIn. LinkedIn definitely is the social media platform nowadays. We don't see that much anymore happening in x.com and on X and then on the other platforms as well. So LinkedIn is definitely super, super active nowadays. We have a lot of open source assets available for you, but as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you, we have these sample galleries. They're basically abstractions of all of the different locations in the GitHub. So you are not responsible, or you do not have to go to all of the different locations in GitHub. You can actually go to the sample gallery and find the relevant sample for you. A lot of URLs, you only have to remember either one of them, AKMS Community Home or Community MS. Both of them are redirecting to the same location where you can see more details. Now, we do have a lot of these community calls every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. We do have this community call where Microsoft is doing presentations. So this is product updates with Microsoft speakers. And then on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Pacific time, so 1 hour earlier, we have the Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community weekly call. So this is Copilot, SharePoint, Power Apps, and much more. But that's with community speakers. So we basically have 2 calls every single week. One in Tuesday, 8 a.m., one in Thursday, 7 a.m. Pacific time. Tuesday call, Microsoft speakers, Thursday call, community speakers. And then on top of this, we have a Power Platform monthly community call with community speakers and Office adding community call with Microsoft speakers. So a lot of these calls are happening. You can find all of the recurrent invites at AKMS community calls, and you can always catch up on the latest agendas at the Meetup service at AKMS Community Meetup. I do know that Meetup service was impacted yesterday's outage on one of the cloud providers, but I think it should be back online already. That was a pretty horrible day for some of the cloud providers and website providers. Now, for a lot of those calls, we do welcome community demos, as mentioned in the call descriptions. So we actually welcome you to do the demos. And the key point to understand here, it doesn't have to be rocket science. Everybody is welcome to do demos in this course, and every single one of you have stories to tell. So it doesn't have to be a new demo. It doesn't have to be open source. It doesn't have to be super detailed advanced things. No. Every single one of us are approaching things a bit differently, and sharing those learnings between others is super valuable as well. So please sign up at AKMS Community Request Demo. We do have also a lot of material available from you and from learn.microsoft.com, a lot of free modules and training content and videos and all of that stuff in that location. So please do take advantage of those. And just to recap on the sample side, we have crossed the 2,500 samples at AKMS Community Samples portal. Great location to find the relevant samples for you, depending on your location or your spectrum. Is it a prompts? Is it a Copilot Studio? Is it a Power Apps? Is it SharePoint Framework? You can find all of those things from one centralized location just by using the search query word technique, and then you are able to filter based on the product metadata. We also have this data available using MCP server, so you can either connect that to the GitHub Copilot, for example, or any other technique where you want to actually play around with that sample data. You could, for example, associate and test around this gallery's MCP with Copilot Studio as a learning exercise on how does all of that work. Now, we also have our Sharing is Caring initiative, which is really there to help you get started. So if you are plugging in or you don't quite know how to, should I, for example, contribute, or how would I get started on contributing, or maybe you're looking into starting presenting in these calls and you need some guidance, we have Sharing is Caring initiative helping you on that journey. And directly from LA, we have David Warner to give us an update on Sharing is Caring is I can't talk, David. Help me. David, help me.
That's right. Everybody understands community, right? So, friends, Sharing is Caring is here to provide hands-on guidance. Yes, so that means we're going to join a live Teams call. We just had one last week, and all of the attendees submitted their first contribution, which was awesome. Walked it through it. They learned together, chatted together. It's a great opportunity. It is a safe space, which means we do not record the call, so you're free to ask email questions. We know that sometimes you may feel a little bit intimidated to ask a question when the recording is on, but we want everyone to feel empowered to learn together. That's what we're there for. So be on the lookout for the next session coming up in November. We will likely get that kind of later in November. I'm a little under the weather today, so bear with me. I appreciate the patience, but we're going to get some others involved too. I know Stephanie Marshall and Todd Clint, we're going to reach out and help as well. But it is important to note that when you join the Sharing is Caring session and you contribute, it is a full-fledged contribution. And that is super valuable because that means as long as you have opted into the recognition program, which is a best in class, labeled by Credly, by the way, not us. We already knew you were awesome at best, but they have labeled this a best in class community recognition program. All these amazing badges that some are fun, some are serious, some are all business, but they all recognize the amazing work that you're doing. And so we're in the middle of the superhero season, wrapping that up. We've got Hacktoberfest coming to an end here at the end of the month. Of course, those back to the community and 1.21 gigabit contributors are still available. We kind of threw those in as bonus badges for the retro feel of Hacktoberfest. So we're having fun, but recognizing you at the same time. Do be proud of these. They show you are making a difference. So if you're an independent consultant, it shows that you are involved in ways that maybe your competitors are not. If you work for an organization, show them to your manager and say that you are learning and helping others learn and taking a step above it. You deserve that raise. So show them off on your blogs, keep them on your resume, share them with mom. I know she's proud. We are too. Do need you to opt in, ak.ms/community/recognition. 100% free. We cover all the cost. We'll see you in the community. That's it. Back to you in the Finland studios.
Excellent. Helsinki taking over from LA. So really cool. Thank you for that one. I really like the back to the community styling on that one. Great work on David on those batches. Awesome work. Now, quick recap on all of the events which are coming up. TechCon 365 at techcon365.com has 4 events all around the world happening. Seattle, Dallas, Atlanta, and Dallas. Dallas is happening pretty soon, within a few weeks, and then Atlanta in March, in the mid-March next year. That's not 2025. That should be 2026. I should be more precise on those numbers or those year number those years would be the right way of saying that. Now, Power Platform Community Conference is happening pretty soon also next week at Las Vegas. So hopefully you are joining us or some of us in that conference and catching up with everybody else within the community. Will be a really, really great show for sure at the MGM Grand. Now, a bit later, in November 18th to 20, we have, or 18th to 21st, we have the Ignite coming up, and this is a both hybrid. This is a hybrid setup, so you can actually join most of the sessions also online, so you don't have to travel to San Francisco, but you can. But I heard, if I remember correctly, it's already sold out, unless I'm completely mistaken. But you can join still all of the key sessions online as well, just by registering at ignite.microsoft.com without any cost, which is really, really cool. Now, following up on that one is ESBC, www.sharepointeurope.com, and this is happening in Dublin on 1st to 4th of December. A lot of us will be definitely there as well. And then next year, we have the ECS 2026 happening in Cologne, Germany, in 5th to 7th of May. And they already broke the 3,000 attendees this year, so the objective will be bigger again in the bigger venue next year at Germany as well. Will be awesome conference as well. Now, on top of these, there's a lot of different other events happening, and you can always go to communitydays.org to get a full list of all of the different events where you can join either in person or remotely. Some of these are in hybrid setups and so on. Most of them are in-person meetups nowadays or conferences nowadays. If you are organizing a conference, we highly recommend you to get your event listed at communitydays.org as well, so you can actually be promoted on that website. By the way, I have to call out quite a few events happening between October 21st and November 28th. That is the full list of events happening between that basically 1 month all around the world, from Paris to Oslo to Hungary, from Seoul, South Korea, Republic of Korea, to United States. So a lot of different happenings all around the world. Now, quick update on the news from Microsoft. This is a bit of an interesting situation. All of the blogs are pretty quiet, so that might be something it's waiting to get announced. But we do know that Power Platform conferences, for example, coming next week, and I'm pretty sure that we'll have a lot of announcements coming up from that conference. And that basically then means that we're not going to announce anything in this week because we're going to wait for the next week's big event in Las Vegas. Now, we also wanted to remind you on the Copilot prompt library, really awesome initiative which Rabia Williams is driving worldwide, and this is basically welcoming contributions on sample prompts across all of the different Copilot prompts which are available at AKMS PMP prompt library. And every single week we do celebrate the prompt of the week, and this week it's coming from Adam Besanze. I think Adam has received this in the past as well, but this one is actually a really cool prompt. So basically, it shows also some of the good practices when in the prompt creation, where you define first the role, then you define the task, and then eventually you would define the expectation of the outcome. But you have this kind of a, hey, you are an AI assistant analyzing communication patterns, so that the LLM understands the objective and the role, what it's taking into, and then clearly explaining the task, what we're expecting the LLM to do. So really cool example on making that happen or prompting efficiently using Copilot. Also wanted to remind everybody on Power Platform Community Conference Agent Hack happening in October 29th. That is in the Las Vegas. You have to be in person there, but if you are in person in Las Vegas, there's going to be more details for you within the communication. So please join us on that 5-hour hackathon event on that evening. Really cool setup as well. Then it is time to go to the picture time. So let's actually start Camtasia here. Let's get everybody in a together mode picture. I will put my camera on as well. And let's see how do we work today. It is pretty okay. It's almost pixel perfect, which is good. I will flip the scene to something else. What do we want to do today? Let's go to the auditorium. That looks nice. And then let me start the Camtasia here. We do have 50 seats in the room. I can see Nish, Pete, Xiao on the front row. David is somewhere there. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of Elliot is there as well. Let's wait 3 more minutes. We do have 50 seats in this room. 50 seats is the maximum. Tobias is there as well. A lot of familiar faces. A few more seconds. We are not in a massive hurry. Oh, there's one more person in the front row. Do we get anybody else on the front row? Anybody? There's 4 more seats in the front row. Run, run. You still can make it. You still can make it. Okay, let's actually get moving. We will have a leader in the front row. And let's do some hand waving, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of this. Thank you for joining on the community call and being part of the community. Awesome to have you here. Thank you for joining. We'll grab a GIF animation out of this and share it in the social media. Thank you for joining. Awesome to have you on the community. Thank you. Cool. Let me move this one back in here. Let me get rid of the presentation on that mode. And let me get rid of the camera as well. And then we're going to go to the demos of the day. So for an exchange, I will actually start today. Typically, I'm always the last one, so we can adjust a bit of the schedule. But this time we agreed with Paolo that I'm going to go first of having a getting started with SharePoint agents. So having a detailed look on how do we actually create them, how do we modify them, considerations on that one, the branding and all of that, and how we can use them across the different scenarios in Microsoft 365. And then Paolo is going to do consuming an MCP server in Copilot Studio right after my session. But Paolo, I'll take 20 minutes, you'll take 20 minutes, and then we'll be good to go, or max 20 minutes, right, Paolo? Cool. Let's actually get moving on that one. So on this topic, we're going to talk about getting started with SharePoint Agent. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft on the SharePoint organization. And this is actually part of a series, this video. So there is a previous introduction on SharePoint Agent on the series, and there's going to be more videos within this series as well. They will be all mentioned in the video notes if you're watching this as a recording. But let's actually get moving on the SharePoint Agents. And we're going to recap some of the baseline things which might or might not be aware, but making sure that everybody understands what do we mean when we talk about SharePoint agents versus knowledge agents or Copilot agents and all of these agentic things. What can all of this do? But really, the number one thing to obviously always understand and ground us is that the AI transforms on how we scale, share, and act in our most crucial asset, knowledge. And knowledge, where is knowledge quite often stored? Well, knowledge is quite often stored within the documents. And quite often, in many cases, those documents are stored within a SharePoint. Doesn't really matter if you're using Teams or Planner or Viva Engage or whatever services you're using. The documents which you put on those services are actually stored in SharePoint, and with SharePoint agents or within SharePoint, you can create SharePoint agents within the matter of minutes or within matter of clicks, actually, if we see like we see today, and we'll move a bit more longer on that journey as well. But SharePoint agents is definitely the easiest way to create a custom agents in the Microsoft ecosystem. And you can get insights from your files within a few clicks. And seriously, this is a matter of seconds. And the reason why it's a matter of seconds is that all of that information in the documents, it's already indexed by the LLM. So the LLM or Copilot is aware of all of the information, the relative things on the algorithm on finding relevant information for you within the document when you're asking those questions. All of that already exists. Now, as we create a SharePoint agent, we do not actually do any additional things than creating the instance of a SharePoint agent, the definition, how it should be behaving, and what files do we actually associate to within this agent, and we're able to start asking questions from the Copilot around those files. So we're going to ground all of the answers then directly on the information which is coming from those files, which we used as the source file. Now, the good thing about SharePoint agents also is that when you create SharePoint agents, the files do remain in SharePoint. Why is that important? Because of permissions. Because if you actually start exporting files from SharePoint, for example, to Azure and Azure Foundry and information, you will most likely lose the permissions and all of the labeling and compliance information which you actually have in SharePoint. So it is actually more safer from a security perspective to create SharePoint agents than actually start exporting files, obviously, outside of the SharePoint. And it gets really complicated super fast. So SharePoint agents, definitely the easiest way to do that. Now, there are obviously different ways of doing this. You can configure Copilot Studio to use SharePoint as the knowledge source, but it gets a bit more complicated than SharePoint agents. And if we think about the spectrum of different agent options, how we can extend the Microsoft 365 Copilot by creating an agent. We have the SharePoint agents in the no-code section. Now, technically, Copilot Studio has the Copilot Lite option, which is definitely low-code option as well, or no-code option, because you're basically configuring in a UX level on your agent behavior. But then you can use Copilot Studio to create much more complicated low-code and pro-code scenarios. So you could actually see that Copilot Studio being really a spectrum of no-code, low-code, and pro-code. And Toolkit and Azure Foundry and all of that within the pro-code options to create those things. Today, we're going to focus on SharePoint agents and SharePoint behavior and updates on that side. And in that context, it is actually good to understand that we have changed a bit the behavior here. Now, when we rolled out the SharePoint agents, we had a thing in the SharePoint side which was called a default agent. Every single SharePoint site had an agent. That agent has been a bit now changed, and the name has changed to be a knowledge agent. And knowledge agents has been evolved from the default agent as well. So knowledge agents is something which is AI-ready content or AI agent directly within every single SharePoint site, and it helps you there in the contextual way to achieve your task. And what I mean with that one is that the knowledge agent actually adapts its behavior on different options. If you're looking in pages, it will show different options. If you're looking in lists or libraries, it will show different options as well. But you can kind of think through this knowledge agent as an evolution of the default agent, which used to be scoped available in every single SharePoint site. Now it has much more skills, and it's much more capable of doing certain things as well. We're going to quickly look on that one today as well, but we're going to mainly focus on the SharePoint custom agents. So the SharePoint custom agents are the ones which we can create within just by selecting the folders and the files which we want to create an agent on, and we are able to easily share that within Microsoft 365 in Copilot or in Teams chat, in the mobile, all of that stuff for anybody to benefit and anybody to easily access. And they are secure. The key point to understand, again, I kind of talked about it in the introduction section. The default, all of the permissions and sensitivity settings are actually kept intact when you use SharePoint agents, because again, the SharePoint files are stored in SharePoint, and SharePoint is under the SharePoint permissions and sensitivity settings, and labeling, all of that remains intact. So you don't have to worry about exporting things or managing permission management or anything like that. No. You can only see information from those files where the user has permissions to access to. You will not get information from other files when you create a SharePoint custom agent. Now, how do we create those agents? Obviously, we talked about it's pretty logical. You just select the files and folders, and then we basically create an agent by clicking a button. It depends a bit on, this is a mock-up picture, so it's not quite like that right now in the product, but it is a bit older picture. But you select the files and we create an agent, and we're going to do that together. So we're basically selecting the individual files, folders, whatever we want to do. You can actually tag into multiple site collections as well, multiple document libraries and multiple site collections or within a site. So there's a lot of flexibility when we're creating the site. And then we kind of customize the agent behavior. And customizing the agent behavior and the brand basically means that we're giving a picture for the agent. And then we configure the potential SharePoint sources, and then we provide we start the prompts, which are really good to have be there, so that the end user knows, okay, what would this agent actually give me? So like in this case, it says, what are the latest product manuals for DX100? But it's a great indication for end user that, oh, wait a minute, so these are kind of the questions I can ask, and then, okay, now I know the things what I can actually start asking from this agent. But then the most important thing when you're creating a SharePoint agent is also thinking through the instructions for an agent. And this actually applies, it doesn't matter where you're creating agents or when you're working with LLM. The super important thing is always the instructions. And this is technically the same as system prompt. So how would that agent or LLM instance, however it's called within environments, in our case, we talk about the instructions for agents, and it's an agent, how would that instance should be behaving? What is the role? What are we expecting? What is the task? And what is the tone, how it should be behaving? And we're going to see that one practice today as well. So let's jump directly into UX, and let's have a look on how all of this works in practice. I'm going to move in this window in here, and we actually start from this folder. So first of all, let me go back on the front page of the site. It is a imaginary solar panel company. We obviously have here the knowledge agent is floating around. I can access the knowledge agent. I can just summarize this page. I can ask the information about the site because again, knowledge agent's instance always grounds on every single site within every single files within the site or the information about that site. So it's kind of the default agent as we talked about. Now, or you can ask about the page. You can do other things as well, or you could doing things like improving this site in an agentic way from the knowledge agent. And these sections, contextual actions, which are in here, depends on where you are. So if you're in a document library, it shows the different actions. Now, today we're not going to deep dive on knowledge agents. We do have a separate demos on that one. Again, we're going to focus on custom agents. So how do we create a custom agent? There's a few ways of doing that. So I can actually start directly from the new window. I can start the creation from here, but it might get a bit complicated because then I need to include the source files from a URL perspective or start adjusting things. Maybe the easiest way to do this is actually going to the document library. So let me go to site contents. Let me then go to shared documents or documents. Yes, and in here we can see, for example, a few documents which I have. So a classic demo set of things, product specifications. We do have a different set of product specifications in PPTX and PDF and docx formats. Obviously, all of those formats and many other formats are supported by the indexing engine. And now I can quite simply come to the documents and I can see product specification is the one what I want to create an agent on. I will have a create an agent button directly in the toolbar, or I can actually select that from somewhere else as well, but it's the easiest way to do it there. So now it's basically saying already with the one click, it's saying the agent is ready. That's pretty impressive. That is now a Copilot agent, which is available for you to use. And you can start asking questions about those documents. So let's actually have a look on that. So let me open the agent first. And let's see how that actually works. So I'm going to open the agent and I'm going to say, let's have a look on the agent a bit. So it basically created an agent with the image of the site, and then it provided us a baseline setup of prompts. So we can ask something like, how can I help you? But these are not really super useful. The cool thing about this one still is that if I zoom in a bit, let me go in here. Can you tell me about the suitable houses on a 200 series products? It's already indexed, or all of the information, again, which is in the source files, is something which is aware, and it's able to start answering directly to information with the reference point to the files as well, because I have access again on those files. So we're going to see the file answer in any second now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to speed up this in video. No, we're not going to speed up this in video. But we're going to get the information here in any second. And then we're going to start modifying a bit this agent to make it more usable and approachable. Oop, that wasn't what I was planning to click. Usable for the end users. Dear agent, answer me. And of course, it's a demo effect, and this easily happens. But so we're not going to wait for the things. Demo effects are always might happen. Let's going to actually edit the site and do the testing a bit more. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to give it a persona. I'm going to say you are product specialist, and basically solar panel product specialist. There's the list. There we go. I want to quickly change the URL. Let's not actually use the faces. Let's actually go to the demo agents. Let's give it a nice studio solar agent smiling face as an icon. And let me see our list. Save that one. And then that's basically the identity. So that is the name, that is the purpose, and we could say something like solar panel product details. So it's working properly. There we go. Now we can, by the way, finally see the answer is coming up on the right side. If you didn't notice, that's happening there. Now I'm going to do on the sources tab on the edit agent. Super important thing. Basically, this means that what are the documents where the answer will be grounded on. So what are the source files which the agent is answering from? And in our case, we created this just by selecting the product specification folder. We can absolutely add additional items here as well. Up to 20 sources can be chosen for each agent, and I can also move cross-site collections. So I can add a multiple site collections and files from multiple site collections to a single agent. And that's 20 sources, that's not 20 files. The product specification in here is one of the 20 sources. So you can have 20, for example, folders or 20 other sites where you're going to start looking into the content. Then we're going to go to the behavior. This is where it's actually where we're adjusting the default behavior in here. So that's always the live preview on the right side. So I'm able to have a discussion with it. That's fine. The intro is all good, but I'm going to actually update this a bit. So for end users, it's always good to have a descriptive prompts and starter prompts so that the end user understands what are the things and kind of things I can ask about this agent. So something like put a differences between monocrystallized, polycrystallized in a table for me. That's a pretty complex prompt, but let's see that if that works properly in a second. I can also then modify the agent instruction. This is really one of the key things to focus on. And in our case, we're going to a bit adjust that. So we're going to do the good practice. So we're going to give it a role, and we're going to give it a task as well. So you are a technical expert on solar panel products. Be consent, direct, friendly, and professional. This is your task. Please provide rules and only the information in source files. This includes technical language and formatting, verify terminology use. So basically, we're giving it role, task, and rules how to behave. So we're being kind of structural on that guidance. So that's all good now. So now we can actually test it. So let's see how it actually works. If I ask about monocrystalline and polycrystalline directly in here, it should be now a bit faster automatically, when hopefully it doesn't actually take that long as it took for the initial demo, but it should be definitely faster than on the previous side. Done. And it's analyzing file, and here we go. Here's a clear comparison, and it's actually drawing now the table directly in output, and I can easily access the information. And that is actually really, really, really useful, because I can now easily save this, and I can actually take this agent and share this agent with other people super easily and modify its behavior, or share it with other people, and they can actually use it within their discussions using any device, and they can adjust if needed, but of course, more importantly, they can access the information behind of the agent within a matter of few clicks. Also, we can see where it actually captures the information and source files, all of that also works here as well. So now, as it's created, that panel is now updated. We have the starter prompts available. I can start asking questions, and we can see that it's working like we configure that. And of course, it's able to now give me the FAQ on a solar panel array. We could ask any other questions on it as well, which is definitely a cool thing. Now, as it's working on that one, we're not going to wait for it. Let me actually go back on slides for a second. We'll come back on the demo in a few seconds. Now, what is super, super cool about the SharePoint agents is the fact that you're able to share them super easily. So I can share the file, link to the file or link to the agent easily in Microsoft Teams chat or any other location as well. And this makes it super easy to access the information behind of that product specific, the agent, using any device. So you can imagine a world where the salesperson is meeting customers on a daily basis and they only have a tablet. And it would take quite a long time to actually go through all of the documents on the product data and double checking things. Now you have somebody who's answering directly on the questions based on the source files. So then the salesperson can just ask questions and you get answers directly from source files within Teams or within Microsoft 365 Copilot. So let's have a look on that one, and I'll go back on here. It's still thinking up on things. It is a bit slow today. I don't know why that is, but let me actually close that one, and that's fine. Let me go back on Solar site. And let me actually then go to the M365 Copilot. I actually have it open already as a tab, but I will open it from here. So it's refreshing the page, so just avoiding any caching issue. And the cool thing about our agent is that the agent will be automatically visible and available in here as well. So all of the agents, sooner or later, there's small caching on the image especially and updates, but are also listed directly in Copilot. So the SharePoint agents are definitely available in Microsoft 365 Copilot chat directly, which means that I can actually go to the agent, or I can go to the different options which are available, and I can start asking questions, and we can see different prompts and configurations available depending on your original configuration within the SharePoint agent, which is super, super cool. And of course, the same behavior works here because it's the source files are coming from SharePoint. I can ask the same questions, and the outcome will look exactly the same as within the SharePoint UX. Now, what's super, super cool is also the SharePoint test panel, by the way. Now, here we go. Is the fact that we're able to share this super, super easily. So let me open up an agent panel and open agents. And because I've created quite a few agents on the site, I can see those agents directly from this dropdown. In the knowledge agent, there's this dropdown. We can see that solar panel product specialist here waiting, but with the beautiful GIF animation, I can select that one. Now we are in that agent, and I can then do 3 dots, and we can actually see copy link for Teams. And this is incredibly cool, because now what I can do is get the link. There we go. Come link and edit, and I can go to the Teams. I can have a discussion, for example, with Megan and say, let's actually get that storage solar panel specialist agent in the chat. I'm going to actually include that in here. I'm going to just get the link, and then I'm going to say add to this chat. And now I'm having a discussion with Megan, who's apparently now offline. He's actually in one of my other windows. It's fine. But now I can actually see exactly the same questions as I configured for Microsoft 365 Copilot or SharePoint panel directly within Teams. And of course, all of the questions are available. So now I can start asking solar panel product specialist. Oop, not there. I'm clicking the wrong button. Here we go. What's the best size of a house for a 200 series panel? And it basically is able to understand my question, and it goes back on the source files, and it's actually answering based on the source file material directly within the chat. And again, I can use Teams. I can on any device. This time we're using desktop, but of course it works in any mobile or any other connection as well. Now the product specialist is thinking a while. Whatever reason, it's not super fast today, but it's actually giving me the answer pretty soon here. Now, one thing what I wanted to do here, this is only going to take 1 more minute. I'm going to go back on my slides and just call out all of these things and SharePoint agents. They are just like any other files. So what it means is that it's a .NET agent file. You can share that, you can store that, you can copy, delete, and archive those files as well. But the agent file is just the definition of the agent. The source file is the one where the information is coming. So the agent file doesn't contain the content. It doesn't contain the indexed material. But super important, again, understand the agent file inherits security and sensitivity settings, and the source file, because again, source files are in SharePoint, are inheriting those as well. We also are double checking all of these permissions, which is incredibly cool as well. What it means is that if the target audience in the Teams does not have the right permissions, the agent is actually asking permissions to share the information. And what I wanted to do quickly is to show you that if I go back in Teams, you're still thinking, I don't know why you're so slow today, but that's fine. I know that Bert is not actually, Bert doesn't have access on that source site. So we're going to test this with Bert on the source material. So I'm going to add the solar panel product specialist in here. And there's the panels. And now I can see the starter prompts in the same way as, of course, we configured in other options as well. But now when I start asking questions, oh, there we go. The answer with Megan is now working properly. Let me actually go and have a look on that. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so that was a wrong kind of a question on the things. Okay, show me the FAQ. work on it. I will chat with you and Bert on the other window. Thank you, agent. You're doing really well. Now, with Bert, we have a bit of a different situation. Bert does not have access on the source files. So what's going to happen here is super, super cool. If I click what products do we have, I will close that one. It will basically detect that the solar panel product specialist is behind on the files. Bert does not have permissions to it. So we're going to actually see a permission or an ask from me to confirm that I want Bert to have access on these files. And hopefully this comes a bit faster today, or maybe I've been playing too much on different agents and agent instances that it's getting complicated for today. I will let it actually do that there for a while. And from a timing perspective, I will go back on slides. We'll go back on seeing that it's actually showing us the permission thing in a second. Just to go out also, agent specification, it is an agent file. If I would download the agent file, you can actually see the content of the agent file. It is a declarative agent for those who are technically knowledgeable on what that actually means, but it basically has all of the information in technical format, in JSON format, in that definition. And now, if you're looking in, there was a question on the licenses on the SharePoint agents. So there is two different options. You need to either have the Microsoft 365 Copilot license, or you can use the Microsoft 365 pay-as-you-go option with these agents. And there is more details on that pay-as-you-go pricing behind of that URL. And I do know that URL, maybe David has the URL to put it in chat, but I'll give it to you in a second. But these are the options for SharePoint agents. And if you're looking more on details on SharePoint agents, we do have a lot of URLs available. But before we close up on this one, and I'll give it back to Paolo. I wanted to double check that everything is working properly. And it seems to be that I need to double check that Bert doesn't have access on the information, because I guess he does. I screwed up the demo, which is not quite optimal. But you definitely understand how I can actually expose the information and also see the information in Teams. Also, the SharePoint agents are available in the Microsoft 365 Copilot. And of course, the same information is available here as well. And it is aware of those permissions of the source files. We will definitely need to look on a bit more structural demo on that one for next time within this series. But I'll follow up on any questions on the chat during Paolo's demo, and I will pass it to Paolo. Thank you.
Thank you, Vesa. Thank you. And yes, let's move to the next demo, consuming an MCP server in Microsoft Copilot Studio. In this demo, we are going to see what MCP is and how you can consume an MCP server and a set of tools made available through an MCP server in Copilot Studio. This is a demo based on a lab that is available on the Copilot Dev Camp. So I will also give you additional information about the Copilot Dev Camp itself. I'm Paolo Pialorsi. I'm a senior developer advocate in Microsoft. And now let's move to the actual content. So first of all, let's have a look at what MCP is. So MCP, Model Context Protocol, that's the acronym, is an open source standard that we can use to connect AI solutions, AI applications to external systems. And the great idea of MCP is that it is almost like a plug, a universal plug that we can use to plug an agent or an AI platform and system with and into another external system to get information, functionalities, resources, and stuff like that. And a really nice metaphor that you can find on the web is that MCP for AI is like a USB-C connector for a smartphone nowadays. And when you use MCP, you can get help to do more in an easy way, because you will simply need to inspect the list of tools, resources, and prompts available through the MCP server. And as a developer or as a designer of an agent, you will be able to easily consume those functionalities. How is it possible? So let me explain you briefly the architecture of MCP. So in the world of MCP, and in the middle of the screen, you see the logo of MCP, which was introduced as an open source effort by a company called Anthropic. MCP is based on the idea of having an MCP server, which will be consumed by an MCP host through an MCP client. Now, the MCP host is the application that actually relies on the MCP client to consume an MCP server. The MCP client is where we have the intelligence and the knowledge about what the MCP server offers, because the MCP client is the one in charge of discovering the capabilities provided by the server and connecting to the server. It will also handle the communication, the one-to-one communication with the server, and it will be able to invoke the tools, query the resources, and discover all of the prompts available. Why am I saying tools, resources, and prompts? Well, because on the MCP server side, every MCP server will be able to make available tools, which is something like a set of functions or functionalities that we can trigger on the MCP server. The resources, which are data sources that we can access with a read-only mode, and prompts, which help the host and the LLM, which is running inside the host, to write prompts to consume the MCP server tools and resources. So when we have an MCP host coupled with an LLM or an orchestrator, we can then easily use the description of all of the tools, resources, and prompts to understand the user intent and to invoke the right tool for the prompt provided by the user. Under the cover, on the wire, let me say that, on the wire, we have transport and security. So when the MCP client consumes an MCP server, we can have the standard I/O local transport or the streamable HTTP transport when we run across different locations on the internet. So we have the MCP server hosted on the internet, and we have the consumer running on another environment. The protocol under the cover is the JSON RPC 2.0, and we can have anonymous access, API key-based access, or open authorization access when it comes to security. So that said, let me move to the demo. Let me show you what we have in the lab inside the Copilot camp. So in order to do that, first of all, I'm going to show you the Copilot camp homepage. And in there, if you go into the maker pathway, you can find the lab number 6, which is consuming an MCP server. And that's precisely what we're going to do right now in this demo. And if you want to do that on your own machine, just go here and have fun with this lab on your own environment. Now, what I'm going to do in this lab is to show you that we have an MCP server that we defined, and you can find the whole source code of this MCP server, which has been built using .NET 8. So again, if you are a developer, you can also dig into how to create your own MCP server. You simply need to open the lab, and following the instructions, you will be able to download the whole source code of the MCP server from GitHub. This MCP server simply provides an hypothetical set of tools for handling yet another hypothetical list of candidates. So here we have a list of candidates stored in a JSON file, and we have a candidate service which will simply provide a set of tools, a set of functionalities to add a new candidate, to update a candidate, to delete a candidate, or to list or search for specific candidates. And from the MCP point of view, we simply have this HR tools file where you can find the implementation of all of the tools that we provide. So the tool to add a new candidate, the tool to update, remove, and search for candidates. So now let me run this .NET project just for the sake of consuming it locally. And let me also create a couple of additional terminal windows, and that's what you are going to do also in the lab in the Copilot camp. One will be used to trigger a dev tunnel that you will need to register, and you will find all of the instructions to do so in the lab. Now I'm going to host a dev tunnel so that even if my MCP server is running locally on my machine on localhost, I will be able to have a public endpoint to consume this MCP server from Copilot Studio. And then I can, for example, show you how this MCP server works using a really useful tool, which is called the MCP inspector. So let me start this tool as well, which will be hosted in the browser. And then by simply using the URL of my MCP server, and here we are, this is the MCP inspector, I can get from the previous terminal window, the one with the dev tunnel, I can get the URL of my dev tunnel, and I can simply provide that URL in the MCP inspector so that I can connect to the remote MCP server, which is actually my MCP server running on localhost, but doesn't matter, we are using the dev tunnel. I can list all of the tools available, and you can see here I have, for example, a list candidates tool. I can run the tool and I can retrieve the list of candidate that I have in my actual JSON file, but it could be a SQL Azure database or whatever else you like, okay? This is just for the sake of simplicity. Now, let's say that we want to consume this MCP server and the tools provided by this MCP server within Copilot Studio, so that then we can use an agent in Microsoft 365 Copilot to interact with this MCP server. So let me switch to Copilot Studio, and let me create a new agent. I can create a new agent from scratch, and I can say, for example, that this will be the HR community agent, which is the one I'm going to create right now for this community demo. You help managing candidates will be my brief description, and you simply, the instructions will simply be help the user to handle or to manage the candidates for HR. This, of course, should be a better looking set of instructions, but right now, for the sake of this demo and for the sake of saving some time, I'm just providing a really short set of instructions. So let me create this agent now. And what I'm going to do is that once it is ready, I will be able to add the connection to my MCP server. So how can I do that? Well, I can select the Tools tab right here, and I can add a tool. In order to add a tool, you can select and filter the available tools using this filtering panel. And here we can already see that we have a bunch of ready-to-go MCP servers available, or you can create a new one. So I will select new tool, and I will select the model context protocol. By doing that, I can now provide a name for my MCP server for the connection that I'm going to create targeting my MCP server. And the name could be HR MCP community, just for the sake of it. And the server descriptions handles HR candidates, or whatever else. And then I need to provide the URL of my MCP server. So I'm lazy, so I will copy and paste it from the MCP inspector. This is the URL of my dev tunnel. I'm not going to use authentication right now. In the near future, we are also going to release new labs with authentication in place. Right now, I'm going through anonymous access. And once I will be ready with the model context protocol connection configured, I will need to actually connect to the target server, MCP server, and I will be able to play with my MCP list of tools. Takes a while, and now you can see I have my HR MCP community, and I can connect, creating a new connection to that specific server. And soon you will understand why I need to connect and go through these steps. And now that I'm done, I can simply add it to the agent. So now that I've done that, as soon as it will be ready, we can see that we have the MCP set of tools available right here. So I can select this new tool that I have. And actually, this is a connection to the whole MCP server. And right here, we can see all of the tools which are made available by the MCP server. And you can recognize that this is exactly the same list of tools that we have got when I trigger the list tools in the MCP inspector. So now what can I do? Well, the interesting part is that now my agent in Copilot Studio will be the host, where we have the MCP client, and the MCP client was able to retrieve all of the tools available with their description. And now the LLM based and the orchestrator based on the prompt provided by the user will be able to understand the intent of the user. And if the intent of the user targets any of the tools that we have available through this MCP server, those tools will be triggered by the agent. So let me give you an example. For example, I can say, okay, that I want to see what's going on. So I want to see the activity map, and I want to list all the candidates. By doing so, I will trigger the connection to the external MCP server. And as such, I need to create an actual connection for my current user session. So I need to select Open Connection Manager. By doing that, I can connect to the target MCP server from the end user perspective, the user who is testing the agent in the local testing environment. I can confirm that I want to connect. And back to Copilot Studio, I can retry the request. And as you will see right here, we see that now the agent in Copilot Studio is relying on the Model Context Protocol and on the HR MCP community MCP server to retrieve the list of candidates. And here we can see all of them. But we can also see, because now we are in Copilot Studio in the testing environment, that we have also access to the JSON response that we have got back from the list candidate tool in the MCP server. If you want to use this technology also in an agent, let me switch back to the list of agents and let me go back to the HR community agent so that I will be able to publish this agent. And I also will be able to select in the channels that I want to make this agent available in Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. It's a matter of a few seconds to wait for the publishing to complete. And hopefully it will be quick enough to let me show you also the agent running in Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. So let me switch to channels. And here I can select Teams and Microsoft 365 Copilot. I want to make this agent available also in the Microsoft 365 Copilot. So let me add this channel. And once it will be ready, I can publish it again, and I can open my agent in the Copilot Chat. So few more seconds of waiting. So let me publish it one more time so that now we have all of the information about the channel that I enabled. And once the publishing will be done, I can go back to the channel, and in there, I will have a easy-to-use link to open my agent in Copilot Chat. So back to the channel. And here I have See Agent in Microsoft 365. Select this link. And as you can see now, I'm in the Microsoft 365 .cloud.microsoft web application. I can add my agent to the target Copilot Chat. Every now and then it takes a while. So even if you will play with the lab on your own environment and it will fail by selecting Add, don't go crazy. Just wait a few more minutes and come back. Now I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully now it will work straight to the Copilot Chat, but we don't know. Okay, looks like it is working as expected. Wonderful. So here I have my HR community agent. And here I can say, as before, list all candidates. And now I'm again going to trigger the MCP server and to invoke the tool to list all of the candidates. And as before, we need to connect because now I'm in a different user context. So let me open the connection manager one more time. Let me connect to the target server. And now that I'm connected, I can go back here and retry with my request. And I will be able to retrieve the list of candidates under the cover as before in the testing interface of Copilot Studio. So as you have seen, it is really easy and simple to consume an MCP server from Copilot Studio, especially now that the user interface has been improved. And now you can simply do all of the configuration from within the Copilot Studio interface. Under the cover, when you register an MCP server in the environment where you are, you can find that there is a new custom connector which will be created for you by Copilot Studio. So in case you want to delete it later on, you want to edit, you want to do whatever else, you can come here in the custom connectors of your Power Platform environment, in the environment where you designed your agent, and you can eventually tackle the MCP server from here, okay, just for your own knowledge. So now let me go back to the slide deck, and just to give you a couple of additional information. As I said, this demo comes from a lab of the Copilot Camp, which is a set of workshops and training material for makers and developers, and this is the URL. You can already find it in the chat. There we have plenty of options depending on who you are and what you want to do. I don't want to go through all of the branches of this diagram, but you will find it on the homepage of the Copilot Camp. Follow the path that better suits for your needs. And that's it. These are some useful links that you can also find in the chat. And thank you. And back to you, Vesa.
So thank you, Paolo. And that one, really, really cool. Good story. Good demo. Great to see the MCP servers directly in Copilot Studio. Thank you. Great storytelling as well. Now, let's quickly recap for today. I went a bit long. I do apologize on that one. Next week, we do have some squires to talk about the introduction knowledge agent on the content management side of the house. We did see knowledge agents a bit of today, but we can actually deep dive a bit more on the content management. What does it mean that we're able to add metadata and automate stuff with the knowledge agents, and Sean is joining us on that one. And then we have me and David actually talking about a bit about SharePoint agents on the series for the business scenario. So what could be the scenarios where we would be using these things? What is the real value of SharePoint agents? And talking about that value proposition there. That's on 28th of October. We might have a third option, maybe, hopefully not, because I think 2 demos is more than enough on these calls. Now, in the meanwhile, we do have 2,960 members, 2,960 members in the Discord server. You are more than welcome to join here if you are around in the Discord world to engage with the community as well. Great option to take advantage. We're always also looking for feedback on this community calls. AKMS community calls feedback is the URL. It is a simple form, but it actually provides us a lot of value as we continue having discussions with our leadership on the value of this course as well. But the recording of this one will be available within Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel within 24 hours, typically much faster than that. And we're going to update LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Twitter whenever the recordings are available. And we're going to push out to get a more picture on those channels a bit within 30 minutes, typically after the call as well. But again, next call on October 28th. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll be in touch. Cheers. Bye-bye.